I'd like to introduce Dr. Jill Slavin of the Biobehavioral Institute. She's going to be talking a little bit about compulsive hoarding today. Dr. Slavin, what is compulsive hoarding?
A lot of people ask the difference between maybe just being a messy person and a hoarder. And really the difference is that hoarders have a need to acquire an excessive amount of items. These items may have little or no perceived value to other people, but the hoarder usually assigns a value to them. In addition to that, they have a significant amount of distress at the thought of discarding any of these items. Usually the house gets to the point where functionality begins to be affected. Many of the rooms in the house may not be able to be used for their intended purposes. For example, the bed in the bedroom can't be used because there's so much clutter on top of the bed, so the person may need to sleep on the floor or on a couch in another room. Another example being that there's a lot of clutter on a kitchen table and families actually aren't able to sit and have dinner together. This can also lead to discord between a husband and a wife and the children in the family. Children in the family may also be affected by this clutter in that they may not be able to invite their friends over for play dates. There may be no place to even play, or they may be embarrassed about the condition of the house. At times, appliances go unfixed due to the fact that the hoarder may be embarrassed to even let a handyman come into the house and fix those items. And in addition to that, it can get to the point where it may cause some medical problems as well due to all the dust and mold.
Why do people usually hoard things?
People usually hoard things because of indecisiveness, lack of organizational skills, and really a fear of making a mistake, doubting whether you threw away the wrong thing. What if I need that at a later time? But the funny thing is, a lot of times when they do need this thing at a later time, there's so much clutter in the home that they can't even find that thing at a later time.
And what types of things are generally hoarded?
Anything could really be hoarded. A large variety of things are hoarded. The common misconception is that the hoarder keeps things that are unique. However, most times it's normal things that everyone has in their home. It could be mail or newspapers, it could be cosmetics, it could be jewelry, it could be clothing, it could be canned food, Tupperwares, it could really be anything. The difference being that it's an excessive amount of those items.
Is there any successful treatment for compulsive hoarding?
The treatment that's currently used for compulsive hoarding is referred to as cognitive behavior therapy. Cognitive behavior therapy is a combination of cognitive therapy and behavior therapy. Cognitive therapy being that we look at dysfunctional thought patterns of the individual and we try to come up with more rational responses. In addition to behavior therapy is what we refer to as exposure and response prevention. The best way to kind of describe that is jumping into a cold pool, right? When you first jump in, it's very, very cold, but eventually we start to feel a little bit better. It's similar in that way that we put them in anxiety-provoking situations that are difficult, but eventually they habituate to it and their anxiety decreases. Medications are also used, usually antidepressants called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, as well as benzodiazepines, which can be used to treat acute anxiety.
Okay, and what is the difference between hoarding and collecting?
Well, the difference between hoarding and collecting would really be that a hoarder is usually embarrassed about their living situation. They usually become very secretive. They don't want people to come into their home. Social, situations become impacted. Whereas a collector usually is interested in a very specific thing. They're very proud of their collection. They often have a spot in their home where they display it. They like to talk to people about it, maybe even go to conventions. So really the difference being is that a collector would be proud of these belongings that they have.
Thank you, Dr. Slavin.